the official podcast of the Jacksonville Public Library.
I'm Hurley.
And I'm Jenna.
We're going to start things out a little differently today. We've got a new segment for you listeners. It's called
What You Reading?
You checked it out with your library card. Tell us what you're reading.
That's right, guys. We are going to start giving you a little preview of what Hurley and I are reading, because I know you're so interested to know.
Yes, since we are a library, we thought we'd talk about the wonderful books that we've been enjoying personally that are also available in our collection.
Indeed.
So, Jenna, what are you reading right now?
Okay, so I'll talk about the book that I just finished yesterday, because I haven't started a new one yet. But I just finished The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn.
That's been really popular lately.
Yeah, it was on our top circulating of 2018. It was published in January of last year, and we have it on our blog article. Plug, if you haven't seen our blog about best books of 2018, make sure you check that out. So that was one of the top circulating. So obviously, we recommended it because everyone checked it out. So I checked it out and read it, and it was I liked it, actually. I liked it a lot.
What is it about?
It's kind of a thriller, I would say, but it's about this lady, Anna, and she lives in her home in New York, and she's kind of a recluse and can't go outside. She's an agoraphobic, I think that's what you call it.
Okay.
But she spends her days just like, playing online chess and drinking too much and watching her neighbors outside, basically. And then people move in across the street, and she witnesses someone being stabbed in the house across the street.
Ooh.
And when she reports it to the police, they're like, no one was stabbed. Like, no one, like, everyone's alive. Like, here's the lady that you thought was stabbed. And she's like, that's not her. And so no one believes her because she's on all these medications. She's not really a reliable source. And so she kind of has to sort out, like, if she's really going crazy or if someone really was stabbed and someone's lying.
Wow.
Yeah. So it kind of takes a long time to build, I say. Like, I almost, like, stopped reading it because I was like, it's just, like, monotonous, like, her daily, day-to-day life in her house. But it gets really good at the end. It's worth holding on, guys. And, of course, we've talked about this before. I check things out in all formats. So I read this on my Kindle and listened to it a little bit on audiobook. And it was great.
That is always interesting to me about you, that you kind of spread your reading out across these formats, whereas I have never read an ebook. I never listen to audiobooks and only read print books. But that's the great thing about the library. We have all the formats in the world available.
Yeah, I don't like to miss a beat. If I'm in the car, I want to read. If I'm sitting in a doctor's appointment waiting, I like to read. So I got it at all places, at all times.
I feel that. I feel that.
What are you reading, Hurley?
So I love books about productivity. It's like my guiltiest pleasure is just reading books that teach me how to like maximize my time and like get more stuff done. So I'm reading a book about productivity. It's called The 12-Week Year. It's an older book. I don't know when it came out, but it's by Brian P. Moran and Michael Lennington, and they are productivity experts. And basically the premise of the book is they want people to take their plans for the year. So, January is a great time to read this book because we're all thinking about New Year's resolutions, including me, and I'm a big New Year's resolution kind of person. So you look at your resolutions for the year and you try to accomplish them in 12 weeks instead of 12 months.
Ooh.
So some goals are better than others for this. Like a big resolution I have for the year is to read 52 books in the year. That is not something I really want to do in 12 weeks instead of 12 months. Because I probably wouldn't come into work. Like, I'd be so busy reading. Maybe I should do this. Actually, I'm talking myself into it. But a better goal for that, like one of my goals for the year is to train for a 5K. So maybe instead of training for a 5K by December, I could train for a 5K by the end of March and run the 5K. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I've been running a little, like I'm not a daily runner. I usually run like a mile at a time, but I think I can do it. And This book is really making me feel like that's a better way of looking at things, as long as you have goals in mind and objectives to reach those goals. So a big part of it too is believing in like accountability, like inner accountability, because I'm definitely a person who needs accountability to get anything done. So even if it's something I really want to do, I do better if I have an accountability measure in place. But this book is saying you can't always have that. And sometimes you just have to like learn how to hold yourself accountable and to depend on yourself. So that's definitely something this book has made me want to work on. One thing I don't love about the book is that it's very much for like businessmen.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's a lot of like all the examples are like from the perspectives of men, and I feel like it doesn't take into account like the different kinds of work that people maybe of a different class or of a different gender just don't. They have more things to do sometimes.
Right.
That,
other stuff's going on.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I wish it had different points of view in the book, but it is very easy to like apply the methods that they're laying out to my own life. So it's really interesting. I would recommend it to anybody who is thinking about how do I take these resolutions I just made for myself and make them a reality, because this will fast track those goals.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What was the name of that again?
It's called The 12-Week Year.
Awesome. And in our collection.
It is indeed. I'm reading a print copy right now with that big old library sticker on it. So
yeah. I love that we're old school versus new school over here.
Yeah.
You know?
I like it too. I like it
dynamic.
too. Yeah.
That's good. What are you guys? You guys print readers or ebook readers? I kind of want to know.
Yeah, let us know. We actually have a podcast survey where you can talk to us and tell us what's going on. If you go to our page, jackspubliclibrary.org/podcast and click take our survey, ! Then you can tell us if you're an ebook reader, audio reader, what you're reading right now.
Yeah,
We'd love to hear.
Let us know. We also have a What You're Reading video series that we're doing right now on Facebook, where we don't necessarily talk about what we're exactly reading, but some other books that are hot right now in the collection. So check that out on our Facebook page. And you can also comment and tell us what you're reading there.
Now let's get into our guest for today. Jenna, who is coming on the show?
We have William Jackson on the show today, and he is a wonderful DCPS educator. We love our educators here at the library, so we're super excited to have you guys hear a little bit about what William does and all the awesome things he's doing in the community.
Yeah, for sure. He's a physical education teacher, which is not my subject, but I'm glad that it's his because it's very important. And he's also a STEAM advocate, especially for people of color and minorities.
Indeed. Yeah, he has his own blog. He's been blogging for like over 10 years, he said.
Yes, he is a veteran blogger at this point.
I think that was really interesting. And he's going to tell us a little bit about that. He also does some things with WordPress, and they have a thing called WordCamp that he sponsors and talks at, and he's also doing some in Africa this summer, which he'll tell us about, which is pretty interesting. So without further ado, let's hear a little bit about William Jackson and what he's doing in Jacksonville. All right, William, thank you so much for coming on Completely Booked today.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I was really looking forward to coming and participating. And I said, hey, I got an opportunity to, be a part of this great show. So thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
And you're a listener too.
Yes, I am. Dedicated listener.
Yay. Yay. You could be like one of our first listeners that we've had on the show.
I think so,
I may
yeah.
have been, because I remember when they sent the link out that you were going to actually start the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I made sure that I had a browser open so I can actually go to it when the show came up. So.
Oh my
fun.
gosh.
And I did
thank
leave a
you.
comment. So, yes.
Yay. Thank you so much. Well,
Okay.
we're excited to have you here and learn more about what you do and what's going on with you. So tell us a little bit about what you do now. You're an educator. So tell us about that.
Yes.
And where you work.
I am a proud professional 31-year educator.
Yay.
So I've been teaching 31 years.
Oh, thank you.
Elementary
Seriously.
education, physical education, and technology. So it's been a wonderful career. It went by pretty fast, which was, pretty cool. But I love working with young people and teaching and mentoring and just being a role model and helping them progress in their lives and everything.
Oh, for sure. Now, you're a physical education teacher.
Yes.
Was not my subject in school, I will say.
Right.
But how has PE changed from the days of dodgeball and running miles on the track?
It has changed quite a bit. 'Cause
Okay.
We actually for several years now, we have an actual curriculum that we apply state standards to. So we have state standards and national standards of things that we should be teaching the students. not just the physical aspect of it, but the fitness aspect, the health aspect as well, to make a well-rounded learner.
Oh, that's great. That sounds a lot more applicable.
Right.
What we were doing in school. Yeah. Is the presidential physical fitness test still a thing?
Oh, yes, it is.
Oh,
It's
man.
gone through some changes, but
Okay.
it's still a major part of the program.
Oh, man.
And the kids are excited to do it because they know they get their patches and their certificate and all the little perks that we add to it to make it fun and exciting.
Oh, that's cool.
I
I remember
had-
that being a big deal.
I had my certificate on the fridge for sure.
Really?
Okay.
Oh yeah, I was a presidential fitness
Oh, man.
fiend. Loved it.
See, that's the
Right.
difference between you and I.
Yeah.
I never got that certificate.
I remember being like really nervous, like practicing at home, like just so that I didn't want to miss it. Like I didn't want to like
Right.
not get it one year.
Yeah, the
Such a
fun part
nerd.
about it is the hype leading up to it because you practice before you actually do the test. And you let the kids, do your very best, push yourself, not over the limits or anything, but what are you working for, and give them a goal to what they're working for and make it inspiring and fun. Then you get the teamwork aspect and the collaboration, support each other and cheer for each other. So you really make it fun and engaging.
Oh, that's awesome. And I think when you have a really encouraging teacher too on your side, that sort of holds you accountable.
Oh yeah,
So
that's
it's
very
amazing that you get to
because
provide
we have a
that.
lot of fun, but I also make sure that they understand that they are lifelong learners, and proper fitness is a lifelong event and an activity and to have fun with. It's not all about just running marathons all the time, which are pretty cool if they can, they enjoy doing something like that with their parents or grandparents. Because we have a couple of kids at my school, and I teach at Venetia Elementary, that are into extra physical activities with their parents and grandparents, but also, involved in tennis and soccer and softball and all those really cool sports and activities.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. I always think about that too. I'm like, man, when am I going to be done working out? You know what I mean? It's just like, I wish I just didn't have to work out anymore. But it is a lifelong thing. And especially at the library, that's such a huge part of what we do, is like encouraging lifelong
Yes.
learning. But thinking it in that aspect is interesting. I didn't think about it like that. And do you feel that, yeah, I guess you kind of touched on that technology has enhanced the learning
it has.
process. I think too, people learn in different ways. So,
They do.
making sure that you have all those different sensory type of learning
Right.
experiences, make sure you're not leaving anyone out.
Exactly, because kids they learn different modalities. So
Right.
like you were saying, you have the tactile, you have the visual, the hearing. So technology has the unique perspective or the opportunity to put all of that together and create, for lack of a better term, an environment that they can relate to and they can focus on, and they can make learning connections. So they can apply what they're learning like right then, but then they can take it away after school and say, hey, I learned math, how to do addition or subtraction better. Or in physical education, with the watches now, you can get your steps. It's like, okay, I got 1,000 steps today or 5,000 steps. So that way you can apply it to different areas in life.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about step counting in
Right.
terms of arithmetic. That's great.
Yes.
And you also mentioned creativity in terms of learning about technology and how that
Right.
comes into play. What do you think is the relationship between creativity and technology?
I think creativity is very, very important because when you're talking about creativity, you have the arts, and the arts have been going back and forth for how important it is. It's very important because you have kids that think differently, and a lot of kids that are creative in their thinking process may not analyze information as some children that are not as creative. Or then you have the innovative part or innovation part that goes along with it. So kids that think an arts-minded way, they look at the world more in a different. The easy way to explain this is in different colors and hues and tones than kids that think in a different aspect. So the arts allow young people that aren't into the sports but are into the arts and academics to blend that learning together. And you have a lot of kids, and it's funny, teaching at the elementary level, you have kids that sometimes, I call it zone out, and they're like staring off into space, and you ask them, well, what are you thinking about? Well, the colors in the sky are like this blue and that blue and this color and that color. Like today we were at PE class, and the kids pointed out there was a rainbow up in the clouds, and they were talking about the colors of the rainbow and how they are bounded together and how they form to create different colors. So that creativity inspires them to want to learn more. So instead of going on with that lesson, we started talking about, well, what makes the clouds? What makes the blue in the sky? How does the sun relate and mix with the molecules in the air? So we implemented some science learning as well. Well, how far do you think the clouds are in several thousand feet or 100 feet? So then you integrate mathematics. So that spurs creative thought process. And that's a lot of things teachers are trained to do. You take those learning moments and you take advantage of them. So even though it's PE or it may be music or art, what else can you integrate it for you to inspire that innovative, creative thinking? And kids will let you know, it's like, oh, I learned this today, I learned that today, or I learned something in PE, but I related it to science or music or technology. So it keeps them on the ball and keeps them thinking.
Yeah, that's some really creative
I think
educating.
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is beautiful. I mean, you're outside and you have, that's great. In addition to being a wonderful educator in our community, you are also an avid blogger.
Yes.
And you're involved in these things called WordCamp. So tell us a little bit about your blogging and how you came to interact with WordCamp.
When I got into blogging, it's real interesting. I'll give you the short version of the story. I'm a past teacher at Edward Waters College, and I created a curriculum called Educational Technology, Social Media, and STEAM. And my master's is in those areas. And when I received my master's from Webster University, I said, well, let me put a curriculum together and apply it. Well, I was blessed to have EWC hire me to teach in their education program. So the program requires students to blog. And in order for the students to blog, I had to learn how to blog myself. So years ago, about 10 or 15 years ago, I started blogging on educational issues, technology issues, to bring attention to why parents need to understand the role technology and or STEM and STEAM plays in their children's learning. So a lot of people are like, well, what is STEM or what is STEAM? Then you break it down: science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. Well, why is that important? Because 80% of the careers now require some element of STEAM or STEM. And then when you throw in STREAM, which is reading, then you give an example why reading is important for comprehension and understanding. So I blog on those ideas, and I also blog about the importance of young people attending conferences like WordCamp conferences dealing with technology, not just buy this new product or buy this software, but actually how to use it to build a career or build a business, how to use web development, which a lot of kids are doing now, and they have actual businesses ongoing. So WordCamps are based on the platform WordPress, which is run by like 35 to 40% of the web pages globally. So you teach the young people the importance of web development, but you also, again, teach them the critical thinking, the innovative thinking, the creative thinking. Is like, you're not just going to put together a web page, but you're going to add graphics and design elements and higher order thinking process, so you get a mix of them doing that process. And it's been a wonderful opportunity to participate, because I've been a speaker, an organizer, promoter, advocate for these for the last 5 or 6 years.
Wow, and where does WordCamp take place?
WordCamps actually take place in different cities across the country. Actually, Jacksonville's WordCamp is June 29th and 30th. So if you Google WordCamp Jacksonville, you'll be able to pull up the site for the actual WordCamp for 2019. And also there's one coming up in Miami that's coming up in March, and there's the WordCamp in Orlando that's coming up in August. So they run different cities, and leading up to them, they also have meetups. So you can be a novice to not know anything at all and be invited and go to a meetup, WordCamp meetup, to actually learn about different types of technology, which is pretty cool because it's an open source community. Mm-hmm. And it's very welcoming and fun and exciting. It's almost like another type of family that you get together, and you talk about technology and how to apply it and how to use it in business.
That's awesome. And is it for kids only, the WordCamps?
The WordCamp itself are for adults, but kids can come and attend.
Okay.
In my aspect and my girlfriend's aspect, we work the kids camps, and the kids camps teach kids using STEM and STEAM initiatives how to use those fine motor skills when designing projects or being creative and integrating how to create a website. So before we actually do a website, we have STEAM projects. So it'll build up individual skills and group skills to combine them to solve a problem or complete a project. So that way they have that design model in their brain, and they, again, still see how important the arts are. So for me, personally, I can admit this, I don't have an artistic bone in my body. Mm-hmm. But my girlfriend, Aida, she's an artist. So she can design part of the curriculum where the arts are integrated. So for example, the last word camp we did was in Orlando. So we had 2 projects. The individual project was the kids created a spaceship. So we had paper and pens and markers, or they could use their computer. So they created their own spaceship. They gave it a name, what the mission was. They had the honor of being the captains, and their parents were their first officers. So they got the opportunity to tell their parents what to do. So it was pretty cool.
I bet they love that.
So after they did their individual project, then we put them together in group projects where they had to take their spaceship and design a space station, like the International Space Station. So then you talk about space and aeronautics. And a lot of young people don't know that there is an actual International Space Station orbiting the planet Earth that's been up there for about 20, 25 years now. And when they realize that, they're like, oh, I want to be an astronaut, or I want to be an engineer. So it opens up all new curriculums for them to learn, and also careers. So once they completed their space station, they had an opportunity to talk about what it was and what it did and where they wanted to go and what kind of experiments. And they took those concepts and created a website, which was their final project. And they posted it on the internet on the WordPress platform.
How cool is that? Yeah. Man, to be
It was
a
very
kid today.
intense, but it was
I
fun.
know.
They enjoyed it. They had a great time. And their parents
awesome.
did too.
Oh,
Yeah.
that sounds so awesome. And you're actually taking this internationally, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
The wonderful thing about this is a lot of the word camps were initially for adults, but now that they see that children, and when I say children from 7 years old to 14 for kids camp, but then the youth camps are from 15 up to 18 years old. They see that that content is valuable for them, so it gives them something to look forward to and to work in an area where they can actually have create an online business. And the beauty of the WordCamp concept is that the sponsors are tech companies that sponsor these events, and they also provide support to young people as well. Or if you need extra information on JavaScript or development or graphic design, they have those resources that are there. So they can reach out by email or phone and talk to industry experts and get mentors and potentially over the summer get internships that help them to build their websites and actually have businesses, because we have some young people that actually have online businesses that are selling like Wapoos and different items, that the clothing and different things that they're actually making some money off of.
Yeah, it comes full circle.
Yeah. Man, I wish that had been around when I was a kid.
I bet you would have loved that.
I would have loved that. That's just such incredible, real life preparation. I would have benefited from that so much. I know all of us would have. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I can remember my sister reading HTML, coding for dummies books and stuff like that. But that was early days of internet, basically.
Yeah, I'm gonna date myself. That's how I started doing web pages. Years ago, I had a web development business, and before the front page and all those other web applications, I learned HTML. I would go down to University of Central Florida and University of South Florida over the summer and take their classes, and I learned and developed my skills to do that. And then I was hired by NASA back in the middle 90s to teach at Edward Waters College teachers over the summer how to use technology.
Oh, that's so
So we're talking
cool.
about middle 90s,
Wow.
Microsoft Office and Word, just really getting into the educational environment. And I was able to teach teachers for a couple of summers how to use Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and then how to make basic web pages using HTML. And it was fun. It was just phenomenal to actually work with NASA and actually to do that and have teachers each summer to come in. And the classes would fill up. We'd have 30, 40 teachers over the summer in the lab that really didn't have that basic knowledge. So putting together a curriculum that had never been done before to make it fun and engaging and have them create templates that they can actually use in their classrooms. It was a great time.
Man, I can't imagine having NASA on my resume.
I know.
Yes.
Who gets to
Yeah.
start a sentence? Well, I was hired by NASA. That's pretty cool.
That would be in
Yes.
bold in my resume.
Yeah, for sure. Just the NASA logo right at
Right.
the top.
This resume is
Don't bury
sponsored
the
by
lead.
NASA.
Yeah.
Let's get right to it, shall
Yeah.
we? Oh man, that's amazing. So very cool. So we'll have that link probably to WordCamp on our podcast page, so people
Great.
can check that out as well.
Okay, yes.
That seems like an awesome opportunity. And you're just like a volunteer sponsor. Like you just love doing it.
Oh yeah, I love doing it because it's a community of individuals and companies that just want to help others to reach their goals. So even though I have a business myself, consulting social media, my girlfriend has a web development business, but it's the joy of going to a WordCamp and talking to a group of developers or beginners and letting them know it's okay not to know everything, but you have a community that's willing to help you and guide you. But then when the WordCamp is over, you still have a community that is a meetup community. So one of the requirements for WordCamp is in that city, you have to have a monthly meetup meeting. And actually, this Thursday is the Jacksonville meetup at the Kona. I want to make sure I get this right.
Kona skate park?
No.
Oh, okay. I was like, we're doing web dev at the skate park. That's
the
cool.
Kona co-working facility off of Beach Boulevard.
That makes much more sense.
But if people like Google WordCamp meetup, it'll direct them to the Kona co-working building off of Beach Boulevard. And it's like, you have pizza and you come in and sodas and talk about web development and business applications. And you can bring your laptop in if you have problems. Somebody's more than, likely to want to help you out to solve any issues and problems you have.
Wow, that's awesome community.
Oh, yeah, it is.
That's great. And also for your personal blog, you use the library a lot for some of your
Yes, I
research.
do.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, when I started my blog, I wanted to come up with an interesting name. So I named it My Quest to Teach, since I'm a teacher. I'm a lifelong teacher. Actually, I'm a 4th generation teacher.
Oh,
Wow,
Yes.
that's incredible.
So my
Wow.
mom, I'm originally from Philadelphia. So my dad, he taught in Philadelphia. My mom taught high school in Camden, New Jersey, Camden High School. So they taught the business aspects. So they ingrained in me then in elementary school how fundamental technology is and will be. So my mom was a shorthand teacher, but I saw her transition from shorthand to IBM typewriters to IBM computers on up to the sky's the limit now. She retired years ago. But I carried that with me and wanted to stay in an area and a thought process to teach because I felt that is my calling. So I called my site My Quest to Teach. So if you Google My Quest to Teach, it'll bring up my site, but it'll also bring up my hashtag My Quest to Teach because I like to attend conferences and workshops and meetups to share the information that I learn with the community. So even though I may speak at a WordCamp or organize a WordCamp or sponsor a WordCamp, I may write a blog about why parents should attend, why they should bring their kids to attend, the networking opportunities, why they should join the Chamber of Commerce for other opportunities going on in Jacksonville. And I also try to encourage business owners, it doesn't matter the size of your business, to be involved in the community itself because you cannot just run an effective business by using Google all the time or any web application. You have to get out and be involved in the community, and this is why. Because the best way is to meet people and reach out to people and talk to people and get engaged and involved and mentor young people because the next generation is supposed to be able to support the generation ahead of them because they are the upcoming consumers and developers and business owners and supporters of the tax base in our city because they should have those well-paying jobs to be able to support the infrastructure of Jacksonville or wherever they're going to.
Right.
Hopefully they stay in Jacksonville, support the growth
yeah.
of Jacksonville.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what we want.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a wonderful opportunity to use the My Quest to Teach platform, not just to promote what I'm doing, but I look at it as if I can go and participate, you should be able to go and participate too. And every once in a while, I'll take kids with me to conferences. When I was an instructor at EWC, I would offer the kids, like, come on with me, we'll go to a conference. College kids, they don't have any money. So I'm like, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. I've taken kids to Philadelphia, Orlando, Tampa, just to give them the exposure and opportunity to learn things that they would not normally have the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's fun.
Yeah, we'll have a link to your blog as well on our podcast page. Sounds like an amazing resource.
It is. It is. And the library itself, it's like the phenomenal resources that are here at the library. I think sometimes a lot of people overlook the opportunities they have to have engagement here at their public library, which has everything that they can imagine that they need. And it's not just the books, but it's the digital information. It's the meetings that y'all have for the young people and the seniors in the community to learn things and be lifelong learners. Because I've always supported the fact that you may live in Jacksonville, but you should have a global perspective of the world. And where's the best place to get a global perspective of the world than come to the library? Because they have everything you need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we have the Educator Card, which you
Yes.
use as well.
Oh, yes. I love my educator's
Yeah, we
card.
heard you're a fan. Tell us what you use it for.
Oh, I love books on CD and DVDs. You know, we're always crunched with time with school, so I'll get a CD or DVD, and at home while I'm doing lesson plans or something, I'll pop in something about technology or digital citizenship, and that'll help me as I'm doing lesson plans. Also take notes. It's like, okay, this is the subject I can blog on, but I actually have to have factual information. So it's not just all my opinion, I think or I feel. No, it's actual information that I've obtained from a reliable and dedicated resource, the library, because the information is here. And I've been blessed to be a national, international blogger. I've traveled to Costa Rica and Central America and participated in their word camp. And the blessing was that my girlfriend, Aida, she's Latina, so she speaks Spanish. I don't speak a lick of Spanish. And it was so enjoyable to go there because we talked about the information and the technology, but the resources. And when I told them about the library system up here in Jacksonville, they were just so overwhelmed. It's like, yeah, we have different branches throughout the city that you can go in. You need a library card, and letting their teachers know we have an actual teacher card ourselves that we could use, and we can check out multiple books and videos and DVDs. And they were just so overwhelmed and happy to hear that there were resources available through the library here. It was just wonderful to share that information and the pride that, you know, Jacksonville has one of the best, if not the best, library systems in the nation. And it's just great to have that resource to help.
Well, we like to think so too.
Oh, yeah. And I tell people that all the time, that we have 21 libraries here in Jacksonville, like,
Yes.
because I'm not from here. And so when I tell people from my small town that we have 21 libraries, they're
Right.
like, what? Why?
Right.
Like, because everyone wants more books.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's always a high demand. That's awesome. So we ask this at the end of all of our interviews. We want to know, when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, I wanted to be a fighter pilot. I wanted
Oh,
to be a fighter pilot in the United States Air Force.
interesting.
Yes, and I wanted to fly F-4 Phantoms because I thought they were just so cool. They really were.
Specific.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was. I was in a program called the United States Naval Sea Cadets, which I actually think is still ongoing in middle school and high school. And you drilled over the summer. You went to boot camp, but they taught you the discipline and the technical aspects and the career about being in the Navy. And through my high school years, that's really what I wanted to do. So I was like, okay, I want to pick out a college or go to the Naval Academy. But then over the summer, I also was a camp counselor. So I enjoyed working with kids and teaching kids. So
What kind of camp was it?
Oh, I taught at all kind of camps.
Okay.
I was a rifle instructor at a couple of camps in upstate New York and New Jersey. I taught at a camp in South Carolina for disabled students. So it's like we were out in the woods and we had like 5 or 10 kids that we were responsible for. So some may have been deaf, some may have been blind. So we had to meet their needs to make a rewarding camp experience.
Oh,
So it taught you a
wow.
lot of leadership skills and responsibilities.
Yeah. My first job as a teenager was a summer camp counselor
Okay,
too, and
all right.
at a theater camp. And I always
Right.
tell people, like, if I could be a summer camp counselor,
Right.
like as my career, that's what I
That's
would
what-
do, because
yeah.
it's the best job ever.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
so
it is.
fun.
I
Yeah.
learned so much. And
Yeah.
one summer I was at a summer camp where I was working in a horse camp. So I got to learn to work with horses and take care of them.
wow.
And, you know, when you tell young people like what you do as you were growing up, they look at you like, oh, how did you do all of that? And why did you do all of that? I said, well, one thing, my parents wanted me to have a well-rounded education, me, my brother, and my sister. So they put us in all these events and activities and things to encourage education and learning. And it helped a lot because I did the same with my kids. So my son and my daughter, I took them to conferences and they hung out and met people and just learned a phenomenal amount of information that inspired them, both to go to college and graduate with honors. But I let the students at my school know, and they laugh at me sometimes when I said, you're just as good as my own personal kids, because in a lot of ways I teach you the value of education just like I taught them. So the achievements that they receive graduating with honors, you can do that and even better because you have so much technology now that you can use at your fingertips. You have your cell phones or your tablets, and you have all the information. Connect with the library, and you're doing a research project. Why not connect with the library? That's your first resource right there. And it's exciting to see when students have those light bulb moments that they are actually learning and they make those connections. And it's a wonderful opportunity as a teacher. Sometimes you see it and it's like, oh, wow, this is awesome. Sometimes you don't, but it's like, you planted those seeds of learning in those students, and they do come back to you later on. And that's why I would say Duval County Public Schools is one of the best school districts in the nation, because we are such a diverse school system, but we have such dynamic teachers. And I'm just saying this from as authentic as I possibly can. So many dynamic teachers that really care about the students and care about their learning and progress. That's why we have such a high graduation rate and so many students going on to wonderful careers. And it's just great being a teacher.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you and all of our teachers. Thank you so much for being here
and
for sharing with us and for being a great fan and listener of our show.
Definitely,
Yes,
and I hope more people
that.
tune in, because I'm going to blast this out on social media.
Yeah.
Yay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good. Well, thank you so much for being here, William. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you want to learn more about William, you can connect with him on Twitter at WM Jackson. He's on Instagram at William D. Jackson. And his blog is myquesttoteach.wordpress.com. So make sure you check him out on the interwebs.
Yeah, and also make sure you get an educator card. If any of you educators out there listening, has some amazing perks, some great resources for your classroom. We do curriculum help here at the library too with our early learning specialists and all of our librarians in the youth services department. So just make sure you guys take advantage of that resource. And also, if you don't have a regular library card, if you're not an educator, make sure you come grab one of those.
Yeah, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for?
Come get a library card.
Come get a library card.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yes. Can't read those awesome books we recommended without one. So let's do it. You can also connect with us at Jack's Library on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can also watch our YouTube channel for more updates on our What You're Reading videos. Pretty sweet.
Yes, make sure you tell us what you're reading. And while you're at it, subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts and make sure you leave us a review and rate us. We would love that. Really helps.
Yes, appreciate all of you guys and all you do. We will catch you next Monday here on Completely Booked.
This podcast was produced by Brian Thomas, a.k.a. BT, a.k.a. Producer Brian. Goodbye.